I believe it's the detective saying, "You're not going to believe this one."
After you're not going to believe this one.
I can't believe it either.
You're right. I've already heard the story. I can't believe it. This is just my observations that this might be an entrance, this might be an exit, this might be into his eye. And he's acting like he has a serious head injury, which would make sense.
For a facial and later finding out you're diagnosed with HIV. At least 3 women have been infected with HIV after getting this cosmetic procedure called vampire facial in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if you don't know what a vampire facial is, it's the procedure where they take a sample of your blood from your body, then separate the plasma and the red blood cells, and then they inject the plasma back into your face with microneedling. And there's a number of reasons why people get this done, a major one being to brighten the skin, improve fine lines, wrinkles, acne, and overall rejuvenate the skin. But after these women were diagnosed, an investigation was conducted, and it turns out that this spa was unlicensed. They also found unlabeled tubes of blood lying on the kitchen counter and syringes stored in the fridge along with food. It's also been said that this spa was reusing disposable equipment, which is most likely how these people were infected. This clinic had hundreds of clients, and it's possible that more people were infected, but they just don't know it yet. The clinic was closed down, and the owner was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Can we just talk about Gypsy Rose on Keeping Up with the Kardashians? So in a past interview, Gypsy Rose stated that she really wanted to meet Kim to talk about prison reform. And again, in case you guys all forgot, Gypsy went to prison for about 8 years for the murder of her mother. And since Kim has experience in prison reform, Gypsy wanted to get together with her so that they can talk about how to make the prison system a lot better. Okay. But is it just me, or is this getting a little weird? I know that there's people that truly support Gypsy, and then there's people who still think that she should be in prison. But at the end of the day, she did murder someone, and I just find it odd that she is essentially famous because of it. And of course, Gypsy did her time, but I've yet to see anyone else be released from prison after doing what she did and become famous. I know we talk a lot about Gypsy Rose on my page, and I do sympathize with her and everything that she went through as a child. But since her release, she hasn't really been low-key about anything, and I get it, a lot of people are very interested about her story and what happened to her. I was too, and now it's at the point where she has 2 TV shows about her life. She goes to these red carpets, and now she's on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I find it very, very interesting, and I just really want to know the point of this collab. Some people think that Keeping Up with the Kardashians has not been doing the greatest, so they brought Gypsy in just to get more viewers. What do you guys think?
I ain't gonna lie, I believe what she said about bringing her in to get more views, because, yeah, I guess, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, everybody used to watch that show, but now, it's like, it's on streaming now, stuff like that. The game has changed. But what she said about Gypsy, bro, that is kind of like, she's hitting the nail on the head, because, like, once she got out, she damn near, like she said, she's famous, even though, like, we know what she did. But for her to get that type of fame of attention, it really makes you question things in the world.
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident.
No.
Jason Padgett was a party animal who hated school and got terrible grades. But one day, 2 men savagely robbed and attacked Jason outside of a karaoke bar, leaving him with a severe concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius and made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into a swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese, even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Ciceria was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple of days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying the piano, he became a musical artist, composing his own music.
Superpowers exist in this world? What the hell, Seekers, man? This is my first time hearing these cases. You think cases like this would make, like, national news or something like that. But the one that kept hitting the head over the nails, when somebody got a concussion, they just, like, unlocked a certain part of their brain, and they was able to do certain things they weren't able to do before. We're gonna have to look into that, bro. Insane.
Have you ever wondered what happened on this exact date 300 years ago? Well, this is what happened in history today, part 1. Up first, on July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. It was carrying Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, who would become the first humans to walk on the moon. Next up, on July 20th, 1793, Scottish explorer Alexander Mackenzie completed the first European east to west crossing of America north of Mexico. It's crazy to me that on this exact day a couple hundred years ago, people were exploring the land that we call home. Next up, on July 20th, 1881, Sioux Indian chief Sitting Bull surrendered to the U.S. federal troops. Sitting Bull was an Indian tribe leader who led his people during years of resistance against United States government policies. He surrendered in exchange for amnesty for his people. Finally, on July 20th, 1917, the World War I draft was held. Secretary Baker, who was blindfolded, drew the first number from a bull, followed by many other numbers over the course of 16 and a half hours, and every number was a different man. And believe it or not, but on that day, 1.3 million men were called up for the draft. This literally happened on this exact day a little over 100 years ago.
July 20th is an important day in history that we have to mark down then. Some important things went down on that day. Crazy to think about how one day can change the course of history. Man. Edit. Call them out, man. Call them out down below in the comments when you see the edit, guys.
This is actually how World War III starts. I'ma be pissed. South Korea's just held an emergency meeting with their top officials to discuss on how to respond after North Korea flew almost 1,000 balloons carrying bags full of trash and human waste across the border. South Korea's national security director said that they've decided to take unbearable measures against North Korea, and while they didn't specify exactly what those unbearable measures were, some sources say that they will resume their frontline loudspeaker broadcast into North Korea. That includes criticism of their human rights situation, world news, and K-pop songs. Welcome to 2024.
One of the world's scariest animals just got a whole lot scarier. And Planet of the Apes is slowly becoming non-fiction. Because apparently chimpanzees are out here murking gorillas. Scientists in 2021 witnessed a troop of chimpanzees basically jumping a family of gorillas. And when I say gang, we're talking about almost 30 chimps pressing a family of 5. Keep in mind a silverback can weigh up to 400 pounds, could probably bench press your car. And according to witnesses, the silverback was eating chimps left and right like they were paper mache. But eventually the chimps overwhelmed the bigger silverback and even kidnapped a baby gorilla. I'm not going to tell you exactly what they did, but that family of 5 became a party of 4. And it wasn't even the last time. Because later that year, scientists watched the same group of chimpanzees do the same exact thing. Square up with a family of gorillas, kidnap a baby, and erase its name from the gorilla's census. And it's not like we didn't know chimps were about that. They often hunt bush babies and vervet monkeys, and we've even seen them use weapons like spears to do it. But it's one thing to hunt something that weighs like 5 Skittles. Going gorillas is another tier of Black Air Force activity. Which is why I'd rather be locked in a room with a jaguar than a chimp. Because at least the jaguar gonna make it quick.
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. In 1971, Edwin Robinson was in a severe car crash that made him completely blind and partially deaf. 9 years later, he ventured outside his home to rescue his pet chicken from the rain when he was suddenly struck by lightning. But due to the high-voltage blast from the lightning strike, he miraculously could see and hear perfectly fine again. During Adam Rayner's early life, he suffered from dwarfism, and at his tallest, he came in at 4.5 feet. But at the age of 21, he developed a tumor on his pituitary gland, which led him to grow to a staggering 7 feet 8 inches within a few years. This made him the only human to ever be classified as both a dwarf and a giant in the same lifetime. Corey Curtis got into a car accident that was so severe he fell into a coma for several days. Thankfully he came out of it, and when he woke up he could magically speak perfect French, even though he had only taken a few French lessons 12 years before the accident. This is breaking news from around the world that you definitely have not heard of.
Number 3, the IDF says a barrage of 200 rockets have been fired towards Israel from the Gaza Strip, most of which has been intercepted by the Iron Dome. The Israeli military conducted a retaliation strike of roughly 130 targets. Number 2, out-of-control Chinese rocket debris crash lands into the Indian Ocean just west of the Maldives, most of which was destroyed upon re-entry into the lower atmosphere. Number 1, a major pipeline was hacked and shut down by a group called DarkSide, the FBI confirms. They demand ransom, and this stands as a wake-up call for other US companies about major cyber threats into the future.
What the hell? He got us when I'm talking about a major park act. That's something they must have tried to hit because I didn't see that trending nowhere. It's crazy to think about, man. This type of information we're not even aware of, man. That's what I said. You gotta tap in with us, man. You're gonna learn something. That's crazy. Edit. Call him out when I see him, man. We've been doing this for a minute, man, so we know how to spot him now. If it's an edit, like I said, tell me in the comments down below. I want to see if y'all can spot them too. At least make the edits good.
Scary facts you didn't know. There are at least 10 recorded cases of someone dying from laughter.
Come again?
At some point in time, a stranger has thought of killing you. Selfies are responsible for more deaths every year than sharks.
No.
There's a shack called the Devil's Toy Box in Louisiana, and people who go in there supposedly lose their minds. When a person dies, they have 7 minutes of brain activity left in which they see a dreamlike sequence of their memories.
Oh.
Most serial killers are born in November.
You can only ride this
Damn.
roller coaster once. Julionis, your bonus, designed this roller coaster called the Euthanasia Coaster. It's capable of holding up to 24 passengers.
Ooh.
Once they're all on board, it starts to slowly ascend to the top, which is 1,700 feet in the air. That's just a little bit smaller than the tallest building in America. Once
Hell
they're
no.
at the top, it gives everyone the decision to stop and go back down safely. After that, everyone has to manually press a button to start the ride. Then it falls at a speed of 220 miles per hour and goes through 7 loops that keep getting smaller. It's designed like this so riders maintain 10 Gs of force for a full 60 seconds.
Damn.
Everyone's blood would rush to their feet, leaving no blood left in their brain. This causes them to lose their vision and eventually black out and die. It was designed for people with incurable diseases who wanted a fun and unpainful death.
What? What the hell? How's it my first time hearing about
Psychological tricks that will change your life. Part 7. If you whisper to somebody, they will whisper back, even if there's no reason to do so. Yo, Dad.
I thought that the French protests were unhinged before, but this might be the single most hilarious way of protesting I have ever seen. As we all know, Paris is hosting the Summer Olympics, but a lot of French people aren't very happy about that. Because, and I only found out about this today, the Olympics is kind of a scam when it comes to a country actually making money. Don't get me wrong, it's great for global street cred, but for example, when China hosted it, they made a net loss of 36.4 billion, and London made a net loss of 13 billion, and that's all taxpayer money. So when the public heard that France has already spent over 5 billion, and then that Macron wanted to spend another billion just to clean up the said river, so it looks good for the Olympics, they lost it, and the I shit in the said river protest began. On the 23rd of June, the French President Macron and the Paris mayor plan to take a ceremonial swim in the river to show off just how clean it is. So the protesters are now planning a defecation flash mob because, and I quote, after putting us in shit, it's up to them to bathe in our shit. Oh, and if you don't live in Paris, no bloody problem, because someone created this website. You type in how many kilometers you are away from Paris, and using a water flow algorithm, it will tell you precisely the day and the exact time you need to fit into the river to reach Paris at the time Macron will be swimming in it. Oh, I told you, and that is why I say
here are some Google secrets
That's
that you
crazy.
didn't know about. If you type in Google space and click the first result, all of Google will start floating in space, and you can type and mess with all the buttons by throwing them around. If you type in Pac-Man, you can play a Google version of Pac-Man along with other games such as Tic-Tac-Toe, Fun Facts, Minesweeper, Snake, Solitaire, and much more for free. If you type in Thanos and click the Infinity Gauntlet, you will not only make some of the search results disappear, but half of Google will also be snapped out of existence. And if you click it again, everything will be reversed.
I want to talk about the O'Fallon footage. On the eastern side of Missouri, a tape was recovered from a camera recorder of a missing man in 2002. This photo found in the footage has marked the most chilling mystery to have ever come out of this county. The man is pictured here. His name was Roy Hafer, and he was sort of an amateur investigator. You know, he would go to scenes with recent crimes, places where he could film, and he could sell the footage hopefully to a news station. And on an evening where he ventured to a hot spot where a woman had gone missing just a year prior, he would never make it home from that abandoned house. A police search was conducted by the following morning, as well as a search of the abandoned home and a search of this underpass where a significant amount of blood was recovered, but his body was not. They would also go on to find his camera recorder, where they would find that final footage. This was the face seen in the last frame of that video footage.
You think you're old? Again, this is the oldest person that ever lived. Her name is Jeanne-Louise Calment of France. She was born in 1875 and passed away in 1997 at the age of 122 years old. She outlived both her daughter and her grandson. Her husband died in 1942.
Whoa. She lived to be at that old? Goes to show you, man. You never know. It's actually crazy.
Men who have bigger noses have been also found to have longer penises, a recent study suggests.
What?
The study looked at the corpses of 126 men within 3 days of death and measured a range of body parts. The length of the men's noses correlated to the size of the penis. And although there was a correlation between nose and penis size, they did not find a reason as to why this might be. So the question is, how big is your nose?
That was weird. What the hell? Manipulation, why did they do
These
that?
are the top 3 dreams you should never ignore according to science. Number 1 is dreaming that you're drowning. It's like super common. And it's most commonly felt. This sort of mirrors how you feel overwhelmed in your day-to-day life. But the reason you shouldn't ignore this dream is that it's usually a telltale sign you might have sleep apnea. 2, dreaming that you are being chased. This is believed to be unresolved childhood trauma. It's kind of like you're manifesting that trauma into a physical person who's chasing you in your dream. By the way, I am using the Dream app to define all of these. It's literally the most comprehensive and expert-driven app to analyze your dreams. And the 3rd dream you should never ignore, cutting your hair. It's believed that this is your subconscious being aware that you are about to experience a great loss in your life. It's kind of like your mind is warning you to protect yourself from the instability that's to come. And if you want to find out what your dreams mean to you, you can check the link in my bio and try Dream app.
See, are you guys gonna try out that Dream app, man? Like I said, the dreams that we dream. Hey, you said we can't ignore them, bro. I think that happened. I wonder if I had any dreams like that. I don't think so. Not that I could recall. But hey, man, and like I said, everything we see is a message, man. I guess when we dreaming, it's our brains trying to tell us a message to ourselves. So if you really think about it, man, we're trying to warn ourselves. It's like we have a warning detection system. If you break it down like that. Okay.
This is the scary story about the mom. One night, there was a 6-year-old girl who woke up in the middle of the night to her mom standing over her bed, staring down at her with a creepy smile on her face. The girl knew something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. The girl then said, "Mom." "Yes," she replied. "What are you doing?" the girl asked. "Watching you sleep," she said. "Why?" said the girl. The mom didn't say anything and kept staring at her, smiling. They each didn't say a word to each other for minutes, but still keeping eye contact with each other. Then the mom began to walk backwards, still staring at the girl with that creepy smile, and then went into the girl's closet and shut the door. The girl then got up and ran to her mom's bedroom and saw her mom asleep in her bed.
What's going on with that mom story? Should we see? Cause y'all gonna check that out? Edit. We're experts at this, man. Now, come on, man. You gotta do better than that. If you're gonna make an edit, you gotta make it good. We've been doing this for a minute now, so we getting better each and every single time. And when these videos plays,
Fun facts that will shock you. Part 1. Happy Birthday to You is the most often sung song in America. Sharks are the only fish that can blink with both eyes. Squirrels can climb trees faster than they can run on the ground.
Oh!
Celebrities who fake their death.
Who's on this list?
Michael Jackson.
That was MJ? way they was just walking across the sheet, but he put his bags up like really close, so we couldn't really get look at his face. If anything, I thought it would be like Tupac Shakur, because you know how people be saying he would just went to a different part of the world. But MJ, Michael Jackson, we believe that? That's kind of a hard one to
Have you ever seen a rash that looks like this? It's these little tiny bumps that look like fluid-filled blisters on your hands or feet, and they're intensely itchy. You may have something called dyshydrotic eczema or pemphigus. This rash usually starts in early adulthood, and it often comes in intervals of about every 3 to 4 weeks in response to emotional or physical stress, but the underlying mechanism is poorly understood.
Man.
Some general skincare measures include washing your hands without any jewelry on, using a fragrance-free gentle cleanser to clean your hands, pat dry thoroughly, and then place a heavy cream or ointment on afterwards to help retain some of the moisture, and moisturizing throughout the day. You may also consider wearing a cotton gloves with non-latex gloves over that if you are doing a lot of wet work. If you are struggling with this, it is a good idea to see your physician because they may be able to prescribe you different therapies. Some examples may include high-potency topical steroids, calcineurin inhibitors, JAK inhibitors, and biologics. Let me know if this is something that affects you, and please hit that follow button if you want to learn more about your health.
Well, apparently the adult film star Jessie Jane was found deceased with her boyfriend. Let's find out all about this one, y'all. Shout out to True Crime and Megan. Make sure you give her a follow.
Jessie Jane, an actor of adult films and other movies, has been found deceased. She was 43 years old and her real name was Cindy Taylor. She and her boyfriend Brett Hassenmuller were found deceased in their home in Moore, Oklahoma. According to reports, the Moore Police Department were called to their home on Wednesday to conduct a wellness check. This was after nobody had heard from them for several days, and police were called at about 11 a.m. It was said that Brett's employer reportedly asked for the welfare check after he did not show up for work for several days. She and Brett were found deceased upon police arriving at the home. A medical examiner will officially say they do not suspect that any foul play was involved. Jessie was a model for David's Bridal for a while before she was in a Hooters commercial. She then eventually signed a contract with Digital Playground. She made her adult film debut in 2003, and then she started to appear in some outside projects. She was in Baywatch Hawaiian Wedding and Starsky and Hutch. In 2005, she also appeared in season 2 of Entourage. Furthermore, she made appearances in Bad Girls Club and Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, which are both reality TV shows. She retired from the adult film industry in 2017 because she claimed the industry started to change too much and they didn't pay as much money. She was remembered as a vivacious person who loved life, and Brett was remembered as a good guy with an amazing soul. They had been dating for quite some time. She was married to Rich Taylor from 2005 to 2012, and she leaves behind one child.
Unusual places in the world. Located in Quebec, Canada, this forest has a pretty creepy atmosphere. It might be because the ground looks like it's moving, making it seem like Mother Earth is taking a deep breath. This next one is actually terrifying. Located in Penang, Malaysia, this huge water tornado was getting extremely close to this apartment building. Fortunately, it stopped right in front of the building because it ran out of water. And how about this one? It used to be a hiking area before it got flooded, so everything you see here used to be above water. Imagine being a fish and seeing this appear out of nowhere.
Here are some experiments that went horribly wrong. In 1983, a man volunteered to be a test subject for a groundbreaking experiment. Scientists disconnected every sensory nerve from the man's brain to see if he could sense God's presence. The man could no longer feel, hear, see, or smell anything after this was done, and the experiment started. He started reporting that he could hear voices of the dead and gave details that he couldn't have ever known. He then said that he could see the entities, to which he started clawing at his own eyes. He eventually went insane and started biting chunks of his own flesh off. The last words the man spoke before his death were, "I have spoken with God, and he has abandoned us." It is uncertain if this was real or fake, but it is sure to send shivers up your spine.
What do you guys think about that story, Seekers? Fact or cap?
Things you should never Google. Lemon party. Harlequin fetus. Blue waffle. Dead lover.
Facts that will blow
Take
your
their
mind.
word for it.
Humans are the only animals that enjoy spicy foods.
Really?
Potato chips cause more weight gain than any other food. It's impossible to hum while you hold your nose. The least interesting day in history was April 11th, 1954. Aldous Huxley and C.S. Lewis died on the same day as JFK. Bigger forks lead you to eat less. The longest living insect is the termite. Chewing gum after a meal reduces heartburn. Dogs can smell cancer. Bees can detect bombs. Follow and comment below which fact blew your mind.
For me, it would have to be the two last ones, man. Dog can smell cancer and bees can detect bombs. We need to be training these bees then, bro. Have our own me unit. Sniffing on bombs, man. I had no idea they can do that. What the heck? The more you know, man. And about the fact about dogs, I kind of heard that before, like how a dog can kind of tell how you're sick before, like even the doctors can pick up on it, or even you can pick up on it. Like they just know. They can just sniff that out. The more you know, man. Crazy facts.
This is the Backrooms explained. The Backrooms are alleged to be an alternate terrifying dimension that people end up in when they glitch out of reality. Upon glitching into the Backrooms, you will find 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms that literally go on forever. Nothing but the stink of moist carpet, the madness of the color mono yellow, and the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz. And if you hear something moving, you better run because the chances are they heard you too. In order to escape, it is said you have to complete a series of levels, which test you to an impossible standard. Which is why if you ever enter the Backrooms, you're most likely never getting out.
The Backrooms, bro. You know there's a lot of TikToks on the Backrooms. That could really break it down. He did it good too. They even making a game about the Backrooms recently too. See, because you know how you can call out the
This
edits.
71-year-old man reportedly hasn't left his house for the last 55 years because he is terrified of women. According to a short film by Aframax, Calixte Zamweta barricaded himself inside what's become a wooden fortress at just 16 years old. And this is all because he never wanted to talk to or see a woman ever again. They say that he suffers from a type of anxiety disorder called genophobia, which is the fear of women. Experts say that you can develop this phobia through experiencing a traumatic event, or be predisposed to it through your genetics. But whatever's got him shook must be pretty damn powerful, because the small hut he's been willingly trapped in for the last 55 years only has one bedroom, meaning he sleeps, cooks, cleans, and even relieves himself all in one place. But even though he's terrified of women and does everything in his power to keep them out, they are the ones keeping him alive. The video claims that the women of his village are the ones who bring him food and other essential items that he needs to survive. They do this by tossing the items over the fence, and when they leave, he'll cautiously come out, collect them, and then quickly go back inside. The question is, how rare do we think genophobia really is?
That's the first time you ever heard about something like that. You can actually have something that makes you scared of women. Maybe more people got that, man, and they just don't know that they have it. The hell? But it's kind of ironic, though. Like, the women are the one that's helping keeping him alive there because they give him food and supplies. But yet, he's scared of them. And then for 30 years in that small hut.
The most sick and twisted slasher we've ever seen. A lot of you guys seem to think that the bedroom scene from Terrifier 2 is not that crazy, and I genuinely think that there's something wrong here. That scene is genuinely one of the most insane scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie. We don't see things like that coming from Jason. We also don't see things like that coming from Michael, especially with the lead-up of Terrifier 3. As we know, I'm pretty sure this kid is getting packed up. And with the fact that Art the Clown is dressed up as Santa Claus for most of the movie, meaning he's going to be decorating some trees. Now, going over a couple OGs from the slasher scene, of course you have Freddy Krueger, the Nightmare Demon. For anybody who doesn't think Freddy's a slasher, his nickname is the Springwood Slasher. But he's really about it. The only thing Freddy's ever done that's comparable to anything that Art the Clown has done, from that, I think it's part 2, maybe it's part 1, where the kid literally gets sucked up through the bed. That was pretty up there. You then, of course, have my boy Ghostface, but he hasn't done anything absolutely crazy like that.
Yeah.
You then have Michael, started a ton of controversy in my last video. Needless to say, we've never seen an unaliving as brutal as the Art the Clown bedroom scene. And then you throw Leatherface in there. Still, once again, yes, he's a cannibal, but hasn't really done anything on the scale as Art. But yes, to answer my own question, I do think Art the Clown is the most sick and twisted slasher we've ever seen. What do you think?
Scary fun facts until the Orbeez overflow. There are microscopic mites that live in your eyelashes. Being buried alive happens so often on accident that they've now invented safety coffins. In the 1800s, dentures were made with real teeth from the deceased. Radio station UVB76 has been broadcasting since 1982. All it does is make creepy noises and nobody knows where it's broadcasting from. Chainsaws were originally invented for childbirth. The final part of Mount Everest that you have to climb is known as Rainbow Valley. They call it that because all you see is all the different colored jackets from the frozen hikers. And it looks like I'm out of time. Follow for more fun facts.
Damn, Rainbow Valley? Looks like a lot of
I don't
people
think I
didn't
really
make
hate
it.
any animal. Every animal has a purpose except this. I hate this bird. I hate everything it stands for. If Happy Feet had an Antarctic Antichrist in its cast, that movie would have been a snuff film. This is a giant petrel, but if you're a sailor, you probably know it by its street name, the Stinker. Because this satanic seagull on steroids is a meal plan of rotting, decaying, disease-ridden foulness I can't even imagine. Or maybe I just don't want to. And like an air-conditioned vulture, they have the same table manners, meaning they'll pull up to a corpse and start eating it from the softest point. So if you ever peep this flying, confident, red-faced Noah just got done tossing an expired elephant seal salad, which makes their choice in self-defense somehow more offensive. Press a petrol or its kid and it'll projectile vomit vile-smelling corrosive stomach oils right to the face. Oils that are so acidic they can actually strip the waterproof coating off other birds' feathers. You know, I said vultures? That's not fair. At least vultures usually wait for you to die. Petrels do no such favors. Pain and paralysis demon will snatch up miners like Dan Schneider and rip them open alive. And remember, the Stinker will pull organs right out the poop chute. The freeze-dried booty bandit has been known to drown other birds like the Australian gannet. You wanna know what this predatory prostate exam is? This is if hyenas had wings. And don't think they just go after chicks. If they find an injured penguin, they will personally speedrun the process. Well, actually not speed, because again, the anal undertaker don't wait for you to pass tense. It's like the booty warrior from Boondocks came back as a bird. Blight to the animal kingdom with a negative rice purity score with a wingspan that can reach a shack. Alright, I'm done. They're not that bad. I just don't like the way they sound.
That's crazy. He said they the booty warriors, bro. Of birds, man. It's insane.
The most disturbing videos in the world. This picture contains a list of disturbing videos from least scary to the most. This will be my scariest series ever. Starting with tier 1, we're going to take a look at a couple of them. The first one is the creepy Japanese McDonald's commercial. Before you watch this, the idea of this commercial was that hunger watches you at night. The second one we're going to take a look at is Dining Room or There Is Nothing. Just take a look at it. This was just tier 1. Tomorrow's video for tier 2 is where things start getting crazy. Make sure to like and follow for tomorrow's video for tier 2.
I'm gonna be watching you at night when you.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 21. This photo shows an 8-month-old Zhao Bao who is lucky to be alive because his mother stabbed him 90 times after he bit her while she was breastfeeding him. The world's scariest haunted house, McCamey Manor, requires you to sign a 40-page waiver and undergo a physical and mental evaluation. If you manage to make it through the house, you could win $20,000. But to this day, no one has ever made it through. The Roman Emperor Nero had a boy castrated, dressed him up as a bride, and married him, all because the boy looked similar to his previous dead wife. A 46-year-old man found and attacked a 13-year-old boy because the kid was killing him too many times in a game of Call of Duty.
What was
the Russian sleep experiment?
The Russian sleep experiment is where they took 5 prisoners of war and kept them captive in a room for 30 days without sleep. The whole goal of this whole experiment was to see what would happen to the human body and mind without sleeping for 30 days. Kind of like a sleep deprivation experiment. And I'm gonna be honest, the way they were keeping them awake was absolutely insane. Not only having oxygen constantly pumped throughout that room, kind of like a casino, because obviously there was no windows because they didn't want them to know what time of day it was. Sort of, as I said, like a casino where they pump oxygen in, you have no idea what time it is, and you kind of always feel awake. But the other way they were keeping them awake was by pinning them with amphetamines to ensure them staying awake. Now, obviously, the experiment did not go as planned, with some of them just being unalive just due to the fact of being up for too long. Others screaming so loud that their vocal cords actually ripped out, causing them to be unalive. Now, back in 2018, we were supposed to be getting a full feature-length film, a real adaptation of this creepypasta into a movie. Now, there are some pretty good short films on YouTube depicting this whole entire story, but we were supposed to get a feature-length film a couple years ago. Now, obviously, this is a creepypasta, so comment down below what creepypasta I should cover next.
Damn, a fully feature film? What happened to it? Why did it like stop production? And why did it get canceled? They want us to see, I guess, the true extent of their experiment? That's my guess. Those creepypastas, man. Some weird backstories.
The devil works hard, Drake's PR works harder, but no one on earth does more than a horny male bird. I'm thinking about ladybirds. They will make their guy work for it. Standards will make the average man have a heart attack. A bowerbird will spend days, weeks, sometimes months of his life building and decorating a bower, all in the name of female validation. They don't just build it either, they'll color code it too. They'll even people rival with a bigger bower and level the entire thing out of pure spite. That's not normal, Petty. Nah, that's advanced. Adelie penguins, yeah, remember them? They nest with rocks, so if a guy penguin wants to commit, he doesn't do it with a ring, but he does it with a stone, no diamond. But penguin politics means the guy can get cheated on by his girl, basically selling her body to someone else for a rock. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. The world's oldest profession is older than you think, but also the opposite can happen, where a female flirts with a guy, gets his hopes up, and right when bro think he finna catch cloaca, she steals a rock out of his nest and then runs home to her actual mate. Imagine buying a girl a drink and she gonna get up and hand it to her husband. Like, you know what, I respect it. Bald eagles will do this thing where they lock talons in the air and kind of just death spiral back to earth. To them, it's a ritual or just really risky foreplay. Apparently, it's a test to evaluate whether this eagle's fit to be a mate. To be fair, they mate for life, so they kind of have to get it right. But they look real stupid when they hold on too long and end up bird smacking the ground together, effectively taking each other off the dating pool, permanently. Albatrosses have a very specific synchronized dance they do to reinforce their bond, and it's not just any dance, it's a ritual with certain steps and moves they have to get right. Crazy part is, some albatrosses don't get active till they're 10. They'll really spend years of their life perfecting a dance just to get a chance. The more you know.
It is criminal that more people don't know about this. A group of teenagers in Africa have just created the world's first hour-long superhero movie that's recorded on a phone and entirely edited on CapCut.
Whoa.
What you are seeing right now took a staggering 2 months to edit. They call themselves the African Cinematic Universe. The filming process took about 7 days and was all shot on a borrowed iPhone 10. All of the editing, including the VFX, the sound effects, was all done on CapCut using a Samsung 7S Edge and an Amazon Fire tablet. As if this needed to be any harder, but they did this all without any food or water. And no, comments, it's not because they were in Africa, it was because it was the month of Ramadan. And the ultimate fear around all of this is that their phone would crash during the export process and they would lose all of their work. So they overcame this by cutting and exporting the movie in 13 to 16 minute segments. And then by a stroke of luck, someone who saw the trailer donated them a PC so that they could put them all together and export the full hour. They even had a premiere for its release. Man, if they get their hands on some real editing equipment, Hollywood is cooked. This movie deserves way more attention. So please, for all of their hard work, let's show them some love. This is the scary story about...
It's crazy. The African Cinematic Universe, the ACU. Hey man, you know, people might tune into that, bro, because you know how the MCU's going right now. It's not hot right there, but that's actually insane that they made a whole movie on a phone. Goes to show you, man. If you work with what you got, you can make something special.
About the woman in the night. A young man moved into an apartment building. The first night he slept in his new apartment, he was woke up by somebody knocking on the door at 1 o'clock in the morning. He got up and opened the door, and standing there was a young woman. She apologized for waking him up and told him that she was his neighbor. She said her husband was beating her and asked if she could spend the night on the sofa. The man felt bad and let her stay the night even though it seemed strange. The next morning, he checked the living room and discovered that the woman was already gone. He assumed that her husband and her made up. But that night, at the same time as before, the same girl was knocking on the door. The man opened it and she said her husband had beaten her up again and wondered if she could spend the night on the sofa again. He said yes, and the next morning when he got up, the woman was gone again. The man grew suspicious and asked his landlord about the strange neighbor. The landlord's face grew pale and said nobody lives in that apartment. He said a woman who lived there died 1 year ago after being beaten to death by her husband.
What? So was it all in his mind? Or just imagining things? The hell? The woman in that scary apartment. Definitely gonna have to dive deep into that one.
You'll never look at a mall Santa the same way after hearing this story. So this photo was taken around 1920 in a Christmas fair happening outside of Boston. The young child in this photo is Alberta Porter, the daughter of Robert Porter, who was supposed to be Boston's next mayor. Apparently, this Santa had set up around the corner from the rest of the fair and was not visible from the rest of the fair. Robert and his daughter actually didn't even see the Santa until they were walking home. The line to see Santa inside of the fair was way too long, so when Alberta saw this Santa, she started crying and begging her dad to take a photo with him. So this photo was taken, and afterwards, the Santa asked if Alberta wanted to go on a short ride on the donkey. And she starts crying and begging her father again, so he agrees. But Alberta never returned. An hour went by and Santa still hadn't brought her back. Robert ran into the fair to ask an employee how long the donkey rides typically last, but the employee seemed really confused. There was no Santa with donkey rides at this fair. The employee pointed to the Santa who had a long line of children out in front of him and said that was the only Santa at the fair. Alberta was never found, and Robert actually dropped out of politics to spend his entire life and savings on finding her and the man who took her, and never did.
Man. Be careful, bro. These are weird people out here
What is the
pretending to be
biggest difference between
Santa.
Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and the new age slasher Art the Clown? It's this one thing. Gen slashers always hold true to this, because they're not threats. But will Art the Clown see it that way? I don't know, because from what I've been told, the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most disgusting, disturbing, and shocking things we've ever seen. And that's saying a lot, because Terrifier 2 was absolutely insane, especially the bedroom scene. People were literally running out of the theaters and throwing up when they first saw Terrifier 2. And if the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most shocking and disturbing things we've seen from Art, what does that mean for this little person? What's gonna happen? Because from the countless set photos we've seen, Art the Clown is dressed up as Santa Claus and going to the mall. Meaning he's gonna have a ton of people around him sitting on his lap and telling him what he wants for Christmas. Now, we already know what Art the Clown wants for Christmas. He wants to decorate with people. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions and tagged in this video. Do I think Art the Clown is genuinely gonna pack this kid up? I don't know. I don't think Damien Leone is going to go that far, but if it's been said that this movie is going to be 10 times shocking, especially the first 5 minutes, and we've already seen the 2-minute clip where Buddy's going crazy downstairs, I really don't know if I would put it past Art the Clown for him to do this. I just kind of hope not.
These are some extremely unsettling facts, and I found all of these on Reddit. The Conjuring is one of the most influential horror movies of all time and actually helped pave the way for a lot of other movies that were to come along in the future. But there was a lot of dark stuff that went on behind the scenes. After they had finished their first day of filming, actress Vera Farmiga had noticed something very off. She had 3 very large claw marks on her body, much larger than any human could have possibly done. And when she was asked about it, she said, "There's no way that I could have left this and not known." And this further adds on to the urban legend of this movie actually being cursed. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the best known horror movies ever, but there's so much more behind this movie that I didn't tell you. Like the fact that the farm that this movie was filmed on actually had around 500 animal corpses underneath it. And where there's corpses, there's going to be a stench. And it got to be so unbearable that it got to the point that whenever the director would yell cut between takes, whether it was an actor, whether it was someone that was working on the crew, would have to sprint off screen and go vomit. And finally, this is one place on Earth you cannot visit. But before I get into that, you guys, I delve into a lot of darker things, so if you want something a little more positive, make sure you go peep my bio. You won't regret it. North Sentinel Island is an island off the coast of India. This place is widely known as one of the places on Earth you cannot visit. This is because the Northern Sentinelese people who live there have become very aggressive to all visitors. They've also had very limited contact with modern civilization as we know it. Even when boats are going by, these people are known to throw spears and shoot bows and arrows at them. But there's a reason behind this. The people of the Northern Sentinel Island were brutalized and abused by colonizers years ago, and this caused them to be very shut off from the rest of the world and be very aggressive towards visitors. And if we're being real, if that happened to you, you would do the same thing. And look, I know these were pretty dark even for me, but that's why.
Yeah, what he said in the last pack is facts, though.
Didn't know about. Women from the Mercy tribe in Ethiopia removed their 4 lower front teeth and cut a hole in their bottom lip. Then they put in a plug to stretch their lips until they can insert a full-size lip plate. This can take many months to do, but the lip plates are symbols of beauty and identity, and they're often worn by unmarried women in hopes of seeming more feminine and finding a rich husband. These plates are changed regularly and each time increasing in size, and this tradition has existed for over 10,000 years. Follow if you want to see more.
That's insane to think about.
Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run.
Austria.
disgusting things actors had to do for a role.
Okay.
Do you guys remember this scene in Harry Potter when all the kids gathered for a feast with all this delicious food? Well, every time they filmed the scene, they couldn't replace the food, so it started to rot and smelled terrible. And the actors said it got so bad they could smell the stench before even walking on set. In Game of Thrones, Castle Black looked super disgusting on screen and was just as disgusting in real life. The set decorators hung raw meat from the ceilings, had real pigs wandering around, and didn't clean up for weeks at a time, which made the actors have an easy time pretending to be miserable and cold because it actually was. For the Hunger Games, Jennifer Lawrence took acting to the extreme and actually ate a raw fish in order to get into the skin of her character. She said the crew told her it would taste like sushi. Hint, it did not. She said it tasted as bad as it smells and that she's never doing that again.
They lying, bro.
Let's see if you have thalassophobia, part 3. I'm going to show you 5 photos. If you feel too uncomfortable to make it to the 5th photo, then you could have thalassophobia. Number 1. How about this? Feeling uncomfortable yet?
Still good.
Nearly there. Last one. Hit follow to see if you can make it to the next phobia test.
I made it all the way to the end. I don't think I have that phobia. They all getting freaking extinct but then reintroduced.
Your brain's storage capacity is around 2.5 million gigabytes. Smell is the sense most closely linked to memory. Your short-term memory can only handle about 7 thoughts at once. You forget 50% of new information within an hour. And this fact really annoyed me, so I tried to come up with a solution and stumbled across Plump. It's an AI-based device that can transcribe any audio recording to text in seconds. Luckily, it's simple, so when I need to remember something, I just start with the one-press voice recording on the Plump device. And once complete, I just click transcribe. And boom, it's done. I have the whole transcription ready for use, and it's perfect. Or I can just select to create a summary and choose the style I'm looking for. For example, to find the most important points in a long meeting or create an audio report of that file. So I'm never going to forget something important ever again as long as I have this device with me. You can get it to link in bio.
Learn some new info. That kind of makes sense about the short-term memory because I know I'll be forgetting stuff that I know I'm supposed to know. It always gets to me, man.
This is the Devil's Castle, and it's one of the scariest places on Earth. It's located in a small town in Mexico. Its actual name is Castillo del Diablo, and it was built by a painting contractor named Tony Wells. He spent almost $4 million on the castle, and it's become a worldwide attraction. In the castle, you can find coffins, creepy mannequins, and gargoyles. Wells has a collection of over 800 swords and knives, and about 350 beautiful antique mirrors. Often, Satan worshippers leave him presents, even though Tony does not believe in Satan. Would you dare spend a night in this place?
That's a hell no. I'm new. I'll stay away from that type of energy, man. But he actually pulled $4 million into that. That's a lot of money, bro. Just to build something like that. That's we stay away from that energy, seekers.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. New York City is now giving rats birth control to stop them from reproducing. This restaurant sued this customer for leaving a $3,000 tip for his waitress. Pablo Escobar's abandoned hippos are still causing problems in the Colombian jungle. A motel in Kentucky was ordered to pay $2 million after one of their guests passed away in a 150-degree shower. Karen was the most popular baby name 60 years ago, and now it is nearly extinct. Florida police are telling people to stop taking selfies with a depressed black bear. EasyJet is apologizing after leaving 3 passengers with disabilities on the runway. A Japanese political candidate was stripping on national TV and asking viewers if they thought she was sexy. A game developer was demanding naked sauna sessions with his employees. 5 fishermen in Sri Lanka passed away after drinking water from a bottle they found in the ocean.
These are the scariest
That's
serial
supposed to
killers
do
in
that.
each state, part 1. Up first is Nanny Doss from Alabama, also known as the Giggling Granny. She married 5 times and murdered 4 of her husbands, and the only one that survived was her first husband. She also poisoned 11 of her family members. Her first 2 victims were her children, who allegedly died from food poisoning. She got the nickname the Giggling Granny because she would always laugh at the crimes she committed. She killed 11 people and is definitely the scariest serial killer from Alabama.
She was laughing? No remorse, man. Watch out for those type of
This
people.
is the world's first passenger plane that doesn't have a pilot because it's being flown by AI. What could go wrong? The concept was revealed at the National Business Aviation Association event in Orlando, Florida. And the idea is to create a fully autonomous passenger jet that has similar benefits to self-driving cars. They believe AI could reduce human error, which is the leading cause of accidents, making air travel safer than ever. Because there would be no need for pilots, it could reduce costs, it could improve efficiency and reduce delays because planes could fly 24/7 without needing to rest for crew. And more personalized, on-demand flight options could emerge, like Uber for the skies. But then again, you would have to put your complete trust in AI 40,000 feet in the sky. So the question is, should this be made or scrapped immediately? Here are 3 options.
I'm gonna go with scrap, bro, because with AI, like, you never know. Somebody could hack and take over that plane, or it can glitch, man. You know, AI is still not perfect, man. And you putting your life at the hands of technology at 40,000, like I said, feet in the air. That's no, man. They need to scrap that.
Optical illusions, which I guarantee will make your brain hurt. First one, make that your phone background, I dare you. Wait, I've got another one for you. Second one, that makes me feel a bit sick. Let's see the last one. Now go and give your eyes a rest.
Were they moving for you guys? They wasn't moving for me though, so. But I know those are probably some crazy optical illusions. Let's edit, man. We call them out. Like I said, if you guys see any edits, I need you guys to help me. Call them out too.
This woman did you-know-what with 919 men in one single day. Lisa Sparks set this record back in 2004 at the annual World Championships in Poland. She was competing against 2 other women, one of which was the current record holder who did you-know-what with 759 people in one day.
What the?
But the craziest part is Lisa set this record in only 12 hours, meaning she only spent 45 seconds with each man.
No. How is something like that even possible? She beat it in 12 hours. What happened to Shane, bro? That's insane. Is it actually a world record for that? I'm scared to even look up who has the current record, bro. I don't think I want to know.
Interesting people you've never heard of. This man from Australia survived a wildfire by scuba diving in his pool while the wildfire was burning all around him. This man in his 40s fathered somewhere between 550 to 600 children. Because of this, he was court-ordered to stop donating his sperm. This man has fathered over 100 kids but has not been paid for it and even pays child support for some of them. A man in Louisiana who was pulled over by a police officer for drunkenly riding on a horse gave the excuse that the horse knows the way home. The sheriff ended up not giving him a DUI. This Englishman bought this island 60 years ago, moved to it, and never returned. This is what he looks like now after planting over 16,000 trees, attracting a bunch of different species of animals, and even making it a national park. This guy holds the world record for reciting pi to 22,514 digits in just under 5 hours, and he knows 11 languages.
Damn, he Jimmy Neutron.
Water slide in the whole world. This is known as the Leap of Faith. It's one of the most beautiful constructed slides in the entire world. But despite its beauty, it's actually known to be one of the most dangerous water slides. This slide consists of a 60-foot drop and was created back in 1998. But if that's not scary enough, it actually gets crazier. After the 60-foot drop, the riders are then sent through a lagoon of sharks. They're kept inside of the tube while the sharks are swimming around them.
He was 2 years old when he survived 4th-degree burns.
The candle fell. The fire spread quick and then into a blanket. And then it all caught on fire.
Zaid Garcia was only a toddler when his mother put him to bed and a candle fell on his blankets, causing his entire bed to set on fire. He was rushed from Mexico to San Antonio for treatment, where he had multiple surgeries, and doctors thought that he wasn't going to make it, but he did. 80% of Zaid's body was burnt, and he lost both of his hands and 5 toes. His eyes were also severely burnt, so doctors covered his eyes with his skin so it can help them heal. Zaid said that he's able to only see shadows and light, but hopes to regain his vision one day and remove the skin from his eyes. He's now 19 years old, and his story is a miracle since most people don't survive 3rd-degree burns. But what shocks me the most is, despite everything Zaid has been through, he's still so positive and optimistic.
When you share your story with somebody, how do you hope they react?
Well, I know it'll make them sad, but I hope that it gets to their heart, and I hope it gives them hope and faith on themselves too. I know they might feel bad for me and everything, but I hope they think, well, if he did it, I could do it too.
Deadliest computer viruses in the world, part 3. This is the infamous escape virus. You'll see exactly why it's called that. So we're going to open it up here and then click run, and then run again. Allows publisher to make changes, yes. This malware is no joke. Continue. Hell yeah. Alright, now let me show you what happens. First thing, the computer restarts itself. A classic virus move. Boots back up and we have stage 1. Background and theme change to this red looking vibe. Stage 2, Windows loads with a bunch of spam user accounts, all with a bunch of weird characters, each password protected. And the main admin account is called No Escape. At this point, most keys on your keyboard would be disabled. Stage 3, admin password is set to death, all lowercase, so we punch that in to log on. Stage 4, all files on your computer are deleted and your desktop is filled with these junk files, all with those same strange characters. Stage 5, your mouse buttons are swapped, so left click is right and right is left. If you open up any of these files in Notepad, it just says this: your computer is mine. You cannot get rid of this malware. Stage 6, you can't really do anything with your computer anymore, and on September 18th it will delete the Windows bootloader, meaning that you can't even turn it on. So yeah, let me know if you're interested in trying this out, and I'll send you that download link.
Who wants to fry their computer intentionally? That's a hell no for me. Yeah, be careful with those links you click on, man. They be trying to get you. So far, thankfully, I've avoided all of those.
You will not believe how this woman stalker found her. In 2019, police in Tokyo arrested a 26-year-old man by the name of Fubiki Sato, who was suspected of following home a young female pop star, and whom he later moved on to assault and molest as she was walking into her apartment complex. But how did he find out exactly where she was? Well, that's the scary part. It was said that Sato screenshotted one of the girl's social media posts in which he zoomed into her eyes, and in her eyes you could see the reflection of a very famous landmark, and that's how he found her location. He then proceeded to use Google Street View, where he would find the exact coordinates of the landmark that was reflected in the girl's eye. This is when he would move on to this location and commit the horrific acts on this young woman. So guys, this is why it's very important to be careful about what you post on social media, because he found her through a reflection in her eyes. Who's to say it couldn't happen to you?
Top 4 most
horrifying
places in the ocean. 1. Hot Tub of Despair, Gulf of Mexico. This is 3,300 feet below the surface of the ocean. It is a very real, very deadly version of Goo Lagoon, where it killed Mr. Krabs and most of the fish in that show as well, because this is a really toxic mix of super salty water, methane, and hydrogen sulfide that basically kills any sort of organism that goes near it to is Sirena Deep. This is the 3rd deepest part of our ocean, and it's absolutely horrifying for a lot of reasons. First of all, we have no clue what lives down there, but basically it looks something like this, completely dark and devoid of life with crushing pressure and freezing cold water, and it's really scary and empty and dark. 3. The East Siberian Sea. It's basically filled with ticking time bombs of giant methane pockets that may or may not explode in the near future because of global warming. The fact they're under a bunch of ice, and when they do explode, it'll release a lot of damaging chemicals, and it also will make the water around them boil and probably kill anything that's in that water with it. For the Ring of Fire, or the outline of the entire Pacific Ocean, this is a very large area of seismic and volcanic activity. Among other things, this is also where the largest mountains and volcanoes are on our planet, which is kind of horrifying.
Gotta take care of our planet, bro, or it's gonna erupt.
This woman shocked everyone at this carnival game because in order to win, you have to hang on to the bar for 2 minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time. But if you've ever tried this, you'll understand just how difficult this simple task is. But what the employees didn't know is that she's actually a rock climber, so this wouldn't even be a challenge for her. And as the time winded down, with no signs of struggle to be seen, she eventually got down to the final seconds, now with a small crowd forming in order to witness what would happen. And just watch what she does when the timer ends.
What the heck? That is hard. That's impressive. Could you guys do a Seekers? 2 minutes?
Do you think you could beat this game?
Whatever it was that really happened in the Hotel President was one of the most disturbing mysteries in American history. This is January 2nd, 1935, when the Hotel President in Kansas City, Missouri got a very strange visitor. This very unusual young man who checked in under the name of Roland T. Owen. He was eventually going to be placed in room 1046, and over a period of days, the maid staff just kind of routinely entered the room because it was always dark in there, so they assumed nobody was in there. Every time they walked in, what they would actually find was Roland T. Owen sitting on the bed in a suit in complete darkness, doing nothing. The most disturbing of all was really what took place on January 4th. Hotel staff had entered the room because of a disconnected phone line, and when they got in there, Roland T. Owen was found on the ground, covered in blood, and he had been stabbed multiple times. And just before he died, they asked him, who did this to you? Which he just said, no one. Even more bizarre, an anonymous caller who was allegedly a woman called in and paid for his entire funeral. If you do want more to the story, I would go check it out right on the show.
Yeah, we gotta check that out, man. Like, what the hell? It sounds like a very deep mystery, man. Need to find that.
Breaking news, Bella Brave has been put into a medically induced coma, and they do not believe she is going to make it. Many of you may recognize her from being a star on this app. You may also know her as Bella Brave. Now, as of July 10th, her mother has posted that she has been medically induced in a coma. She said, quote, "They've told us they don't know if she'll survive this. I know she will. I know she has an army praying for her." Her mother shared that Bella had developed an infection in her lungs and also may have developed a form of bronchitis. Doctors say the type of bronchitis that she developed is, quote, "irreversible and a chronic condition." It is also known as popcorn lung. On July 9th, her mother posted that although Bella was, quote, "sitting up," she began to struggle. She went on to say, quote, "She lost 4 pounds in 1 day, putting all her energy into breathing. Her CO2 started to increase, and she started to doze off and have delirium. She was alert enough to tell me she turned into a piece of bread, and she also knew that she was at the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto." She continued by saying they knew at that point they needed to sedate her and intubate her before she crashed. "We left having them tell us they didn't know if she'll make it through the night, but she did." However, the following day, her mother said that she was placed into a medically induced coma. "The best of the best were telling us it looked really bad. But I kept lifted stare, intensely listening until I heard what hope there was left that we could hang on to." She has also shared that Bella was put on a large dose of steroids. She said this is the one option they have left to help her lungs work again. Day 3 will give us more information on how soon we could see her lung function improve. She's stable, and that in itself is an improvement for now. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. Prayers for Bella, and I'll keep you guys updated. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
Prayers, man.
Scary Christmas Urban Legends, Part 1. Hopefully you're not eating right now, because this one's going to make you lose your appetite. So this is mincemeat pie. Apparently people actually like this and like to eat it during Christmas time. Legend goes that it was created in the 16th century as a way for humans to cook and eat other humans. You heard me correctly, humans were added to this dish. And apparently this rumor or legend is why mincemeat pies no longer have meat in them. At least most don't anymore. Delicious. Like and follow for more weird shit like this.
I've
Maps
never had
will
that
change
before.
The way you see the world. This is a prediction of what the world is going to look like 250 million years from now. These are the CO2 emissions across the Indian subcontinent, with the lightest, whitest areas being the highest. This map shows all of the foreign military presence that is sitting in Africa right now. This map shows the most valuable Italian brands and where exactly they came from. If you draw a straight line between the northernmost point and southernmost point in the contiguous United States, along with the westernmost point to the easternmost point, the lines do not intersect. This map shows what the size of the Great Lakes would look like if it was in Europe. This map shows which state you could find the highest percentage of people with ancestry from every European country. This map shows where every popular sitcom took place. Every red dot on this map is a football pitch or a soccer field if you're from the United States. This map shows that in 1990, most of the United States had 15% or less obese adults in their state, where less than 30 years later, now almost every state has more than 25% obesity rates.
That's a shame.
Finally been named the Disappearance of Morgan Nick. If you've been following, you know Morgan was abducted from the Alma Little League Park in a 2 to 3 minute window. She was a bit shy compared to the other kids, so she'd just been sitting with her mom along the first baseline to watch the game. But apparently she was so excited when 2 kids came over and asked her if she wanted to go catch fireflies. She repeatedly asked her mom, and so calling me then, even though it was getting dark. But she had no idea Billy Jack Lynx was also there and allegedly parked right next to their car. Morally, she says that when she saw her daughter for the last time, she was running up this hill and past the fences to that exact same parking area. Now, when the game ended that night around 10:30, all of the other kids came running back down to the field, but Morgan wasn't with them. Immediately, Colleen asked them where she had gone off to, and they told her that she had just sat down for a second to get the sand out of her shoes. So Colleen went up there and started looking around, but she couldn't find her anywhere. And by 11 p.m. that night, everyone was searching the ballpark, and eventually officers decided to take the area off as a crime scene. It turns out the kids who were with Morgan that night had seen something worth mentioning. There was a man with a scruffy beard who had come up to them, and they couldn't quite place it, but something about him and his red truck just didn't fit. Now with this, police asked everyone to send in their home footage from the games that night, and they found a truck that matched the one the kids were talking about. Nothing immediately came from this new lead, but then about 2 months later, there was another attempted abduction. It was determined that Billy Jack Lynx had tried to take an 11-year-old girl from a local Sonic, and he was driving what appeared to be the exact same truck. Now that same year, 95, the connection here was made, and Lynx was interviewed about Morgan's disappearance. His car was also sent on for testing, and they even found human blood, but from what I can tell, all of the initial evidence in this case was lost. Then in 2019, a new team finally came in to take over this case, and it was so disappointing because they could have had the technology now to match that blood to Morgan. So they started over trying to track down this truck 25 years later, and somehow after several different owners, they had found it. In 2020, investigators, quote, vacuumed various locations of the truck, and now they say they have a blonde hair that has to match Morgan or someone in her family. They also say the strongly suggests that Morgan was in Billy's vehicle the night she disappeared, and while he died in 2000, they also have an idea of where he took her after the abduction. They focused in on an area about 10 minutes away that's down by the river, where a group of kids actually saw his truck later that night, and what appeared to be a man holding someone down in the front seat. Tragically, it is believed that Morgan may have been taken with the floodwater that year. Today, she still remains missing. Investigators are trying to figure out everything they can about Billy's life.
Bring facts that will ruin your life. Baby chicks, while very sweet, are often grinded up. In many large factories, if they're baby roosters, they're just tossed into a grinder. Pretty gross. Did you know that in the United States alone, every year, around 2,500 people die from using right-handed equipment that were originally left-handed? Sucks to be left-handed. George Bush Sr. was the only man to survive after his plane was shot down in World War II by Japanese soldiers. Out of the 9 men that were cannibalized and eaten on by Japanese soldiers, Bush was somehow the only one to survive. Hopefully you like boogers, because Inuit mothers actually suck the snot out of their baby's nose. Nasty. Did you know there's actually 200 corpses right now on Mount Everest? Due to the body's elevation, they're actually left up there and perfectly preserved to the extreme climate and temperatures. They're used as guide points for climbers and hikers. Comment and let me know which fact disturbed you the most.
Basically, it's a graveyard, man. That's
This
the
is
best way to
without a
put
doubt
it.
the creepiest mugshot I've ever seen. This is 33-year-old Solomon Galligan. He is an S offender that tried to kidnap a little boy from an elementary school in Colorado. This entire ordeal happened last Friday, and he went up to multiple children. Before police arrived, he tried to grab the young boy and flee. but that was unsuccessful, so he just fled to begin with. He was later caught by police and charged with 1 count of kidnapping. As a result, the elementary school and the surrounding areas are increasing security and police presence. But bro, this mugshot is definitely the creepiest shit I've ever seen. There's not a single feeling of remorse or regret in those eyes. He's now being held on a $25,000 bond. He had a similar incident in 2012 and he failed to register as an offender. Now, luckily, the little boy that he tried to kidnap was unharmed. And this also happened while the kids were at recess. I'm not sure how this happened. I feel like when I was growing up in recess, all of the teachers would be watching us.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to step up security. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Movie bloopers that are better than the actual movie. In The Dark Knight, while Joker sits in a jail cell, he overhears Detective Gordon get promoted to commissioner. Naturally, the rest of his squad applauds him, but then they hear the Joker clapping in the background. The Joker's creepy clap wasn't in the script, but it fit the scene so well they kept it in. In the show Friends, Matthew Perry actually hits his head on a filing cabinet.
Please, just...
Well, this was a total accident, and Jennifer Aniston's reaction was completely genuine. In this scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony Stark leans over to open the door, but Peter Parker hugs him instead. This wasn't in the script, but Tom Holland thought it would be funny, which led to Robert Downey Jr. improvising this line on the spot.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not.
Classic.
In How the Grinch Stole Christmas, in this scene, everything was supposed to fall off when Jim Carrey pulled the tablecloth. But it didn't go as planned, so he had to improvise. This wasn't in the script, but it was so funny they kept it in.
Records that will never be broken again. Number 1, the woman with the most children. Back in the 1800s, a Russian woman named Miscellaneous gave birth to 69 total children. She had 16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 quadruplets. And no one has come close to matching that number since. Number 2, the most nuclear explosions ever survived. This is Tsutomu Namaguchi. He has survived 2 different nuclear explosions. Tsutomu was on a business trip when the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. After miraculously surviving that explosion, he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki just in time to witness the second atomic bombing. But again, he miraculously survived and lived till the age of 93.
That's rough.
Horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. One of your photos that you have today will be used in your funeral. There are more slaves today than any other time in history. According to the founder of the Walk Free Foundation, there are 46 million slaves in the world today. Your eyes can still move after your death for 15 to 30 seconds. Watching TV for more than 2 hours a day can shorten your life expectancy by 1.4 years. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 42 seconds. To this day, no one knows where that signal came from. A lit candle causes more than 15,000 house fires every year. Spider rain could happen at any moment above you. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the 2017 version of It, was born in 1990, the year the original It was released. Yeah.
Those are some creepy coincidences, man. Spider rain? I've never heard of something like that before, but I definitely don't want to experience that, man. Imagine you just walking outside, normal day, just see a whole bunch of freaking spiders coming down. You like, what in the world is this world coming to, man? How does something like that even happen?
If you see him while you're awake, run. So this story actually comes from a Reddit user who's a therapist. And this user had a patient who was coming in complaining of seeing Hatman at night. This patient would apparently wake up in the middle of the night to see Hatman standing at the foot of their bed, watching them sleep. And as a result, they were not really sleeping much. So the therapist prescribed some pretty heavy sleeping medication, and as a result, the patient starts getting a little better. But then one day, the patient comes in and just looks like they had seen a ghost. So the therapist asked them what was wrong, and they said that as they were getting in the car to come to therapy, they saw Hatman standing across the street during the day. This therapist had only ever heard of Hatman when it came to patients waking up in the middle of the night and seeing him, never when they were already awake doing things in the middle of the day. So the patient is terrified, but the therapist thinks this might be a side effect of the medication. It takes a little while to get used to. But that was the last time the patient ever came to see the therapist.
Man, is he real? Cap.
Scary facts that will blow your mind, Part 2. The Hoia Baciu Forest is considered the most haunted forest in all of Romania. Hundreds of people have gone missing within these woods, among other things like screams, laughter, babies crying, people being attacked by unseen paranormal forces, strange balls of light, UFOs, and in the very center of the forest lies a clearing where no plant life will grow. It is believed that this spot is a portal to another dimension. What do you think? Like and follow for more.
Okay, that one, the most haunted freaking forest in Romania, man, where all those plants not growing and how they said it can be ported there. I definitely want to check up on that one because that sounds interesting, man. Like, no plants are going in that whole open area. That space is just like a freaking, look like a crop circle. What do you guys think? Is that a dimension to another
incident has
reality?
made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who's a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS."
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
She said it perfectly. No words needed on that clip. Everything to a T.
Here are 5 regular things that are illegal in North Korea. Number 1, wearing jeans. In North Korea, wearing jeans is a symbol of their enemy America. Number 2, turning off the radio. All houses come with a government-installed radio that makes announcements through the day. Number 3, practicing religion. Reading a Bible can get you publicly executed. Number 4, watching foreign films. Watching foreign films can get you executed or sent to a labor camp. And number 5, listening to foreign music. All music has to be Kim Jong-un approved.
As you were taught that you probably
Never
still
gone to
believe.
North Korea.
Number 1, that cracking your knuckles will cause arthritis. While cracking your knuckles might sound and look damaging, it does not cause arthritis. That loud pop that you hear when you crack your knuckles is caused by bubbles bursting in your synovial fluid, and the bubbles pop when you pull the bones apart. Blood in your veins is blue. If you look down at your arm, you can probably see your veins and see they look blue. However, your blood is not actually blue in your veins. Blood is either red or dark red, but never blue. Your veins look blue because of your skin. Blue light does not penetrate human tissue as deeply as red light does, and as a result, veins that are close to the surface of the skin will be more likely to reflect blue light back to your eyes. You can hear the sound of the ocean in shells. This is a myth. The sound you hear when you put a shell against your ear has nothing to do with it being from the ocean. It's actually part of the background noise around you, just turned up a little bit by the shell. So if you're next to the ocean, the shell picks up the sound of the ocean, the alpha wolf. There's actually no such thing as an alpha wolf. This idea was brought about in a paper from the 1970s, but the author later said in a paper that he rejected the idea of an alpha wolf. While it's true that multiple wolves who share a small space in captivity will develop alpha and beta-like hierarchies, wild wolves behave nothing like this. In the wild, a wolf pack is typically formed by monogamous parents and their puppies, and the wolf pack is basically a tightly knit family consisting of parents or breeders and their offspring, not an alpha and beta.
We need to talk about...
Hey man, those facts those were blowing my freaking reality wide open, man. I've always, when you used to put a shell up to your ear, they always used to say that like you were here in the ocean. That's another piece about your hood. Gone. And I remember seeing freaking blue veins, yeah. I remember when I was a kid sometimes I'd see blue. I'm like, is our blood blue? I said, how come when we bleed it's never blue? So I learned that very early on, man, but we're learning out here today. I like that.
Sex tourism. So if you don't understand what this is the practice of elderly men and women from America or other countries traveling to more undeveloped countries where the ages of consent are much lower, and then purchasing children to do things with. These are just some of the men who have been caught on camera doing these things. And this opens up a disturbing thought. I mean, you think you know somebody, but what are they doing in these foreign countries? Because laws were passed in the 2000s that outlawed this practice, meaning that if you committed an act with a child in a foreign country, the United States government can still prosecute you. But there was a great documentary made by Chris Hansen where they followed a wealthy American doctor over, I think it was in the Philippines, one of those countries, and caught him in the act of purchasing a child. And then they followed him back to the United States where he had a full family, he ran a successful practice, and he was then turned over to the authorities. But all you have to do is look at this and the low ages of consent in so many different countries. And just recently, a North Dakota lawmaker was caught doing this in the Czech Republic. So how many children have to be hurt before more action is taken against this whole thing? Every single year, the statistics show that over 1 million children are abused as a part of this system. 1 million children. Imagine a group of 1 million children, all of their lives completely changed forever, every single year, every year. And these sick bastards get away with it time and time again. Now, I don't know what I can necessarily do to stop this from happening, but I can inform people and try to get these videos out because this is incredibly disturbing stuff. And I'm going to talk more about this guy in my next TikTok.
Trying to find a loophole. Disgusting.
Wait. You don't remember what she looks like?
How rare is your body? Let's find out. About 75% of people have a deviated septum, and this is a condition in which the bone and cartilage that divide the nose in half are crooked, making one nasal passage smaller than the other, and it's known to cause nosebleeds, problems breathing, or loud breathing when you're sleeping. Less than 1% of people have an extra finger crease, and it's also called camptodactyly, and it's just when you have an extra little ridge on your fingers, and it is most common on your pinky.
Ooh.
Less than 1% of people have an eyeball scar. This is also called a macular pucker, and it's just scar tissue that forms in your eye. And it's known to cause blurred or distorted vision. And it's caused when the vitreous, which is the gel-like part of your eye, starts to pull away from the retina. Less than 1% of people can hear colors or see sounds. For example, this could happen as soon as someone hears a sound, they automatically see the color red, or as soon as they read a word, a certain color pops into their mind. About 33% of people experience motion sickness, and this 33% are highly susceptible to motion sickness, while the rest just experience it in extreme conditions. And it's caused when your brain starts to get signals from your body that it's moving, but they're mismatched and don't match up.
Here's some Disney Channel stars that went to...
Do I have any of those? Or is any of the Seeker's bodies weird, man? Does they have that extra, we said, I guess cartilage on your pinky or eyeball scars? I didn't even know an eyeball could get a scar.
To jail, but each time the crime gets worse. Starting off, Mitchell Musso, who played Oliver Oaken in Hannah Montana, was pulled over in 2011 for driving under the influence. He was only 20 at the time and was arrested and released on bail. Because of this, his character was written out of Pair of Kings and his show Prank Stars was canceled. Next up, Adam Hicks, who played Luther on Zeke and Luther and had a starring role in Lemonade Mouth, was arrested a couple times, but most recently for an armed robbery with his girlfriend. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to mental health evaluations and was eventually given a 5-year sentence sentence. But he's now currently on parole and making music on TikTok. Moving on, Lindsay Lohan was Disney's golden child in the early 2000s, starring in iconic movies such as The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Mean Girls, before getting into trouble with the law. She's been arrested for driving under the influence, drug possession, violating her probation, a theft charge, and has even had a bench warrant out for her arrest. And finally, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, was arrested and charged for vehicle manslaughter after killing a 21-year-old girl while drunk driving. When they tested his blood alcohol, it was 3 times the legal limit. He was originally given a 5-year sentence, 2 years of probation, and 350 hours of community service, but ended up only serving 1 year due to his work with prison-based theater groups that performed in jails, churches, and schools to highlight the consequences of drug abuse.
After breaking up in the 50s,
Childhood.
these 2 high school sweethearts are now newlyweds at 82 and 85. Eddie and Caroline dated for years in high school, and they spent so much time together that Caroline was known as Eddie's girl around their Nashville town. And when Eddie graduated a few years before Caroline, she had hoped for his class ring as a sign of commitment, but Eddie wasn't ready. And he was about to leave their hometown for the ROTC program at the University of Tennessee when he dropped her off at her house one evening in 1959 without giving her a class ring and with no mention of the future. Caroline knew that their relationship was over. She says that she recalls running into her house and crying for that entire night. And then the 2 went on to live completely separate lives, including Caroline winning Miss Nashville the same year that Eddie left. In 1961, they both married other people and shortly thereafter had children and raised families. Eddie spent 21 years as a pilot in the Air Force, and Caroline became an interior designer and an author. But in 2001, Caroline lost her husband, and in 2021, Eddie lost his wife. A year later, in 2022, Eddie felt compelled to reach out to Caroline, and he says he called 9 times before she answered, but when she did, the spark was still there. With 6 decades of catching up to do, they met back up in Nashville, and just 3 months later, Eddie asked her to marry him. He wanted to get her a traditional engagement ring, but she said that all she wanted was his high school class ring, just like all those years ago. Now, as newlyweds in their 80s, they say that they feel just like kids again. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
It's true love. Really, works through. They found each other, man, after all that time. Can you even imagine that, living separate lives? You come back and marry your first love. That's a great story. We need something positive every day.
Mason TV was able to trick Spotify into sending him Harry Styles' 1 billion streams plaque, so he decided to put it to good use. He created a TikTok account with the username SecretSue94, later changed to Sue Manella, playing on Harry Styles' nickname Sue, known within his fandom. He created multiple vines Harry made in 2013, adding subtle clues like a drawn-on cross tattoo to make it seem more authentic, and even getting pink carpet for his stairs to match Harry's stairs. He developed a multiverse of fake TikTok accounts for Harry's friends to lend credibility to the main account. He went to great lengths, including dressing up as Harry, painting his nails, and having fake paparazzi photos taken to show Harry with a Spotify plaque and using TikTok on his phone, which helped him spread the belief in the account. Overnight, fans all over social media and even major media outlets were speculating about its authenticity. Millions of people talking about the account led it to going viral and amassing over 600,000 followers.
This man left his 2-year-old toddler in a hot car while he went to go play video games. Not only is this case super disturbing because of what he was doing while his 2-year-old daughter was strapped in this hot boiling car, but apparently he's done this so many times before. It all happened on July 9th when 37-year-old Christopher Schultz arrived home at 12:50 and his daughter was strapped into her car seat and she was sleeping, so he decided to leave her in there because he did not want to wake her up, and he had left the AC on as well. Christopher's wife Erica arrived home at 4 p.m. from work and she found their 2-year-old daughter still strapped in the car. At this point, this poor little girl was already gone, and when paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could really do. Now, while Christopher claims that the AC was on, it turns out that it actually turned off only 30 minutes after he left to go inside. This means that she was left in this 180-degree boiling car for about 2.5 hours. At first, Christopher lied and said that he had left her in there for about 30 to 45 minutes and had checked up on her multiple times, but after they investigated and saw home surveillance footage of a neighbor, they noticed that she was actually in there for about 3 hours.
How long was she sleeping in the car out there?
I want to say it was no more than 30-45 minutes. And I don't think their air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I had checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when she went back out, the car was off.
Like I said, he's done this so many times before, according to his other daughters. And his wife also sent him a text message saying, I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you? But what I also found so weird is that his wife also sided with him, and she got really upset when police arrested Christopher. I don't understand how she has any type of sympathy for this man who just took your baby's life because he was playing video games. He was warned multiple times about this, so there is no excuse. Christopher was originally charged with second-degree M, but then it was changed to first-degree, and he pleaded not guilty. If he gets convicted, he does. 23-year-old Fan Man Lee, and how her head was found in a Hello Kitty doll. Fan Man Lee struggled with addiction for a very long time, and in 1997, she met 34-year-old Chan Man Lok, who was a drug dealer and a pimp. For that year, Fan Man Lee became desperate for money and drugs, so she stole $4,000 from Chan Man Lok. When he noticed that the money was missing, he asked his two friends to kidnap Fan Man Yi. Originally, his plan was to force Fan Man Yi into prostitution so she can pay him back, but his plan got out of hand and he did something much worse. Chan Man Lok, his friends, and his girlfriend began torturing Fan Man Yi. They tied her up and beat her, burned her, sexually assaulted her, and forced her to eat human feces. Eventually, Fan Man Yi passed away, so they cut her body into pieces, boiled it, and then fed some of the remaining pieces to the dogs. This is where things get super creepy. The three men decided to stuff Fan Man Yi's head into a Hello Kitty doll. And get this, the crime was eventually reported by Chan Man Lok's girlfriend. She basically told on herself because she claimed to be haunted by the ghost of a dead woman. She said that this ghost would not stop tormenting her until she confessed to the murder. It's been said that the building where Fan Man Yi passed away has been haunted for a very long time. People claim to see the figure of a woman walking in the hallways and also claim to hear the cries of a woman.
They had to demolish that building, man, because it's too haunted, bro.
Imagine getting married only to be decapitated by your husband 3 months later. 21-year-old couple Jared and Angie got married in October 2022. Around 4 p.m. on the 11th of January, police were called to their home in Texas. Police made a grim discovery in the pair's bathroom after finding, quote, what appeared to be the head of the victim to be in the shower, end quote. Angie's body was discovered on the floor near the bed in a pool of blood with multiple stab wounds to her back. It was actually Jared's poor parents that initially made this discovery after entering the home. They then obviously alerted police to what they found. Jared was arrested and has confessed to killing his wife with a kitchen knife. Jared was actually captured on CCTV, casually stealing a bottle of beer from Angie's workplace just minutes after it's believed that he killed her. Angie's friends have reported to police that the couple's relationship was toxic and Jared was very controlling. Jared's bond is currently set at $500,000.
Man, those toxic relationships, they not worth it at the end of the day. You're gonna do something that you're gonna regret, and look what he did. All just because you couldn't break it off, man. You gotta end the cycle.
This schoolboy stabbed his teacher to death in front of a classroom full of students. 61-year-old Anne Maguire was a Spanish teacher teaching in Leeds. She'd actually worked at the school for 40 years and she was only 5 months off retirement. However, in April 2014, something absolutely horrific happened. One of her students was 15-year-old Will Cornick. He'd always been described as a smart student who never really caused any trouble. Classmates regarded him as a polite student, but after he got diagnosed with diabetes, his personality seemed to change. In 2013, he tried to join the army, but because of his diagnosis, he was rejected. Being in the army had been his dream, so this was really upsetting for him. After failing to complete his Spanish homework, he was given detention by Anne. He also expressed a wish to her that he wanted to drop Spanish, but she wouldn't let him, which only angered him more. He began to develop a deep-rooted grudge against Anne. Shockingly, he reportedly messaged his friends on Facebook asking if one of them would kill her for him for £10. During one school day, halfway through his Spanish class, Will decided to get up and attack Anne with a knife. The classmates watched on in horror as he chased her out of the classroom. When there, another teacher heard her screams and tried to shield Anne from any more blows from him. Will then allegedly returned to his class and told his classmates how it was a shame that he hadn't killed her. However, Anne did actually pass away from her injuries. Will later admitted that he did plan also to kill 2 other teachers. One of them was actually pregnant at the time. He's been sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 20 years.
What happened that caused his personality to change that drastically?
Let's talk about what happened to 13-year-old Rachel Mellon Skimp. She was born on October 13th of 1982 and lived in Melrose Park in Illinois. At the age of 3, her parents divorced and her dad moved to Dallas and her mom stayed with her in Illinois. Eventually, her mom started seeing a man named Vincent and eventually they got married and had 2 children together. Rachel was described as a bubbly person with a great sense of humor. She was the life of the party and was always the most beautiful girl in the room. On January 30th of 1996, Rachel was at school and was having a normal school day, and as the day went on, her friends noticed that she was crying by her locker, so they went to go ask what was wrong. She said she was having a problem, but that she was going to fix it herself, and that is all she said. The following day, on Wednesday, January 31st, Rachel decided to stay home from school because she was having a sore throat and was feeling kind of sick. So her mom left to work and her stepfather was going to stay home because he wasn't working at the moment. Rachel called her grandma to thank her for the Christmas gifts that she had sent her, and this call took from 4 to 5 minutes. And her grandma said that this phone call was completely normal, nothing out of the ordinary, but she did notice that at one part in the phone call, Rachel was kind of quiet, and her grandma said, "Is he there?" referring to her stepfather, and she said yes, and then Rachel told her grandmother that she needed to hang up. Her stepfather stated that they played the Nintendo before she decided to go up to her room and take a nap. So once she was upstairs taking a nap, he decided to take the family dog for a walk, even though it was 20 degrees below zero. So he left at 2:30 p.m. and then ended up coming at 3 p.m. He said the reason that he took a while is because the dog broke free from the leash and he was not able to get him, so he just figured that the family dog would just find his way back eventually. At 3:15 p.m., Vincent's youngest daughter comes home and she goes straight to Rachel's room to greet her, and that's when she realizes that Rachel's not even there. So the youngest daughter tells her dad that it seems that Rachel is missing, that she's not even in her room, but he just doesn't seem to care. So once her mom gets home, the youngest daughter tells her that Rachel's missing from her room, so that is when her mom decides to call 911 and report her as missing. Stay tuned for part 2.
My gut feeling is.
Put your feet off my table, please.
My feet hurt, man. I don't know why.
Get them off my table.
So up until this point, it seems like the detective held little stock in Ryan's newest version of events. I mean, a story about getting shot in the eye and living to tell the tale just a few hours later is a bit outlandish. But as Ryan continues to give confusing answers and display increasingly erratic behavior, the detective finally takes a closer look at his wounds.
Let me see your nose. Put your legs down. Put your legs down. Bring your face closer.
Oh, my head hurts.
How is he still up and moving?
Yeah, be right back.
After this abrupt exit, the man returns with a totally different demeanor. He's worried. He tells Ryan that someone is going to check him out to make sure he's okay.
Hey, Ryan?
Yes?
I got the fire department coming to take a look at it. They're going to probably take you to the hospital.
You taking me to the hospital?
Yeah, we're going to take you to the hospital.
Why?
Well, if you've seen your face and the way you're doing things, it doesn't make sense right now, okay? We're just going to make sure you're okay.
I just want to go back to bed, man.
Well, that's the problem. If you have some kind of head injury, you shouldn't be sleeping, okay? Well, sit down. There you go.
As the two wait for help, Ryan basically repeats his story about the shooting, saying that he just wanted to go to sleep after being shot in the eyeball.
I think I only got shot once in the eyeball.
And then you just wanted to go to sleep?
Huh?
Soon others enter the room to take a closer look at Ryan. I believe it's the detective saying, "You're not going to believe this one."
Captain, you're not going to believe this one. I can't believe it either. You're right. I've already heard the story. I can't believe it. This is just my observations that this might be an entrance, this might be an exit, this might be into his eye. And he's acting like he has a serious head injury, which would make sense.
So now all the puzzle pieces are starting to fall together. A single explanation appears that nobody would have expected in a million years, and it's one that they probably hope isn't actually true. That's because if Ryan really had been shot in the head, that would mean that they neglected to get him proper medical treatment while he waited in the police car and underwent this lengthy interrogation, which, when all was said and done, allegedly added up to about 6 hours. 6 hours where Ryan would have been sustaining permanent brain damage. 6 hours where he could have gotten help, but instead was getting worse. Well, spoiler alert, it was true. Ryan had actually been shot in the eye, and his account of the break-in and shooting by a man named Richie and his dad was 100% real, even if he couldn't exactly get the details straight due to his injury.
Are there guns around? Kid Eric did it. I don't know how he did it exactly. I might have been shot. I don't know.
And they was still asking questions, man. They gotta get that man out to the hospital. Like I said, I didn't even realize it, but yeah, he was spitting facts that will fall on a policeman and get him medical treatment. They failed to do that. To survive like that, man, they able to tell a tale like that. That's like a 1 in a million chance. 1 of a billion for that to actually happen, man.
Location of the emergency.
My daughter is missing.
What's your address, ma'am?
She's gone. We can't find her anywhere. I've called all her friends.
How old is she?
11.
Okay, what's her name, ma'am?
Carly, Carlie.
And last name?
Bruscha, Brucia.
The footage you just watched shows the last known moments of 11-year-old Carly Bruscha as she was abducted in broad daylight by a violent predator. Despite being reported missing by her parents within half an hour of her disappearance, Carly's case would ultimately go down in history as one of the most depraved crimes against a young girl. It all started on January 31st, 2004. Carly had spent the night at a friend's house, but the following day was Super Bowl Sunday, so she wanted to get back home in time to watch the game. She told her friend's mother that she was allowed to make the walk back home on her own and departed around 6 p.m. However, after she left, the concerned parent reached out to Carly's mother, Susan, and informed her that Carly was walking the mile back home alone. Susan said she didn't feel comfortable with her daughter walking even just a few blocks alone, so she sent her husband and Carly's stepfather, Steve Kanzler, to find Carly and drive her the rest of the way home. However, as Steve went up and down the route Carly would have walked, he couldn't find her anywhere, and that's when the nightmare really began. Steve continued to drive around for over an hour, praying that he had somehow simply missed Carly, but when he returned home and she still wasn't there, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. Susan later said of this moment that she instantly felt something terrible had happened to Carly, saying, "In my heart, in my mind, I knew." Susan and Steve left the house together to search again, shouting Carly's name out the car window as they drove down the road. They stopped briefly to investigate a wooded area and noticed a red tow truck drive slowly by them. Then they continued retracing Carly's steps and went to her friend's house to check there. And much to their surprise, they saw the same red truck parked out front. It struck them both as very odd, and upon realizing that Carly wasn't there either, Susan decided it was time to call for help. The frantic mother dialed 911 around 7:30 that evening. She couldn't hide the absolute terror in her voice.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
My daughter is missing.
What's your address, ma'am? And your phone number? Okay. Has she been missing before?
No. She had a fight with her girlfriend and she decided to walk home. And we've been driving around for about an hour and a half. And it's now an hour and a half walk. She's gone. We can't find her anywhere. I've called all her friends.
How old is she?
11.
And when was the last time that she was seen?
It was at 6 o'clock, Jean. Around 6 o'clock.
And she was at a friend's house?
Yeah.
Okay, what's her name, ma'am?
Carly, Carlie.
And last name?
Bruscha, Brucia. She's just shy of 5 feet.
Okay. Do you know how much she weighs?
She's around 120 pounds.
Okay, what color hair does she have?
Dirty blonde.
And what color eyes?
Blue.
Following the heartbreaking call, police immediately issued a BOLO, or Be on the Lookout alert for Carly, and searched the surrounding area for 4.5 hours, but found nothing. Meanwhile, Carly's family and friends got to work creating missing persons flyers with her face on them, and they began handing them out the next morning. But something happened during this time that struck a few people as suspicious. Carly's stepfather, Steve, allegedly visited a local equipment rental business to hand out flyers and asked one of the employees if he could purchase drugs in a couple of days after this whole thing blew over. The employee thought it was a very odd thing to say when his stepdaughter was missing, so he contacted the authorities. Detectives also felt that something was off with Steve, so they brought him in for questioning. He stated that he'd been at home the entire time with Susan, which she was able to corroborate. After fully verifying his alibi, he was cleared as a suspect, but Steve did offer them another name, Ron Choquette. Ron was the owner of the red tow truck, and he'd apparently been dating the mother of Carly's friend for 2 months. He was home the night Carly slept over, and at one point, he was the only adult present. So naturally, Steve informed police about how he'd noticed Ron's red truck.
It was Ron, wasn't it? That case, man, had some freaking twists and turns, bro. You just know that's a tragic case. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video. Comment down below. Don't forget to hit the post notification bell. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.